We always have a draft pick. We work for Paul Allen. No, look, I mean, look, the next priority is going to be getting Terry Staff, re-signed. That's paperwork and negotiation. But as far as what you guys need to be interested in, it's the draft. We went right from, I watched Game 5 in Chicago at the Combine. I know some people question why I would need to be there if we don't have a pick. It was even more essential that I was there. And anybody know why?
To see if you want to get a pick.
Yeah, but also because we're not going to get guys to come to Portland, right? I mean, like, you can't ask agents to send guys in on the, hey, we're good. I mean, that 30 teams tell guys, hey, we're getting a pick. You should, get your guys to work out. And it just doesn't happen. So it was critical that my staff and I were there. We were meeting. The league did a great job this year. There were multiple guys that are probably going to go in the first round participating in Chicago. A lot of second-round picks. It's a deep draft. We're always going to be involved when you work for Paul because he's always looking for an influx of young talent. Again, going back to the coaches, they're going to develop our young guys, so we're more apt to take flyers on guys because we know that they have a chance to become NBA players. But that's the next priority. I mean, we approach it no differently. Now, we'll tier the draft in such a way where we know what the reality is based on the resources we have. But, we acquired the Cleveland 2018 first at the deadline, which is a pick that we can put into play. We've got cash, we've got future seconds, so we've got resources to get ourselves involved in this draft. And the luxury that you do have, Mike, is that instead of targeting players that might get to your pick, we can now be in a position like we were a few years ago where we'll only get involved if we see the value. And I think each of the drafts have shown that if we'll be aggressive on draft night, we'll target certain players, but we'll stay true to those targets and not get swept up in draft fever just to grab a guy to grab him.
Neil, you've said a lot over the last few months that you built this roster to have the same career arc as Dame and CJ, same kind of age group. Does that continue to hold true moving forward this summer, or maybe will you stray at that a little bit to take that next step?
That's a good question. Look, it always depends on who the player is. My buddy is sitting up there, the gray beard. I mean, Chris got along and with this group, regardless of age, as well as anybody. I mean, like his leadership with Dame, the way he related to our young guys in the locker room. I mean, it's not about. I get your point about the age. You know what I mean? When we made long-term decisions, but age doesn't factor in if culturally, chemistry, guys are going to fit into our group. I think that's really what's important. Look, we've got a lot of young guys on the roster. Clearly, if you can sign a younger player longer term, if you believe in them, it's more beneficial for the long-term health of the organization. But we want to build on the success we had this year. We're not going to be reactionary and overreact, to this season. We're going to stay on the same path. But that said, if we have an opportunity to accelerate this and go get a veteran-proven player, we have the resources. We have a max cap slot. We have the flexibility to go spend money. We've got a great owner. And like I said, I think we're becoming more of a destination than perhaps we were in the past because of players like Dame and CJ and the success that we had this year put us on a national platform. When you make that second round of the conference semis and you're down to the final 8 and all games are on national television and the rest of the league is watching, it makes an impact on free agents, we hope, and it puts them in a position where we play a great style of play. One of the things I talked about with somebody this morning was look at the guys, not just our young guys, but I think we haven't talked enough about the job the coaches did last year and the 2 years prior to that in building up the value of our veteran players. I mean, all you have to do is look at the salary variance from where they were to where they ended up as players. And those were guys who were proven that might not have had the same upside that some of our young guys did. So I think we are becoming a destination not just because of style of play and the fact that we have 2-star players, but the coaching staff, the consistency, the culture, the way guys are treated here. So hopefully that opens up a wider breadth of free agent targets for us.
Where do you see this team's biggest needs heading into the offseason?
I don't want to get too specific, Jason, because I think then all of a sudden it starts, it translates to we're talking about specific players. Clearly, there's areas we need to improve. I mean, we didn't answer all of our questions last year. When we talked, we were in this theater back in July, nobody was under the impression that we built an entire roster for the next 5 years, but it was step one. I think step one just got us closer to where we want to go, but there's still work to be done. And, we'll look for upgrades, even if it's not over guys that are here. But, if we lose guys to free agency, we'll have roster spots. And, we'll find ways to, to continue to build the roster. We have some flexibility because the cap holds for our restricted free agents are lower probably than their market value. So we have the opportunity to go out and use these resources this summer. And like I said, we'll be as aggressive as we were last July.